Does smoking weed lower your vibrational frequency? I think this is a topic that is super important to understand. If you're someone who enjoys smoking weed, it's good to know how the marijuana is affecting your consciousness, how it's affecting your vibration, your energy, how it's affecting your mental clarity and your mindfulness. This is so important if you're someone who's interested in self actualizing, if you're interested in awakening, if you just want to live a conscious, happy lifestyle, then it's good to know how the weed is affecting you so that you're not using it in an unconscious way that's actually holding you back and is preventing you from growing as quickly and as effectively as you could be. So this is a question that I get asked a lot, and this is a topic that's actually very personal to me because I've been smoking weed ever since I was 16 years old. When I was in high school, my friends and I would smoke water bottle bongs behind the trees of our high school, and I would smoke every single day for years. And this was also around the time where I started getting into meditation. And I was very passionate about raising my consciousness, developing mental clarity, raising my awareness, my wakefulness, and my mindfulness. And to be honest, I had a lot of trouble because I felt that smoking weed was holding me back. It would give me brain fog. It would make me feel lazy and lethargic. And it would sometimes cause me to overindulge in video games or watching porn or just overeating like pizza and stuff like that. And I had many years to contemplate this topic. And just for the record, I do still smoke weed occasionally. So the verdict here is not that weed is bad. There's nothing wrong with smoking weed. However, if you're someone who does smoke a lot of weed, I think that some of the ideas that I'm going to be sharing with you here in this video are going to help you be more conscious of your cannabis usage and are probably going to motivate you to cut down. Because to be honest, if you are smoking a lot of weed, it's probably best that you smoke a little bit less. And we're going to be talking about why. And I'm not going to be forcing you to smoke less weed. I'm not going to be guilting you. We're just going to be talking about some really interesting concepts of how it affects your mindfulness, your mental clarity, and your vibrational frequency. So, yeah, in my experience, I do enjoy smoking weed on occasion, especially if I'm with my friends or maybe I'm at a party and I'm just celebrating life. If I'm smoking weed in the attitude of celebration, then I often have positive experiences. So for me, I love being high on cannabis. Let's just be real. Being high feels awesome until it becomes too much, and we're going to get to that. But for the most part, the reason why millions of people in the West and all over the world are extremely addicted to smoking weed is because it feels good. And for me, when I smoke, I love listening to music. I love listening to rap, just all kinds of rap music, hip hop, Pink Floyd, classic rock, psychedelic music, EDM. Just music feels amazing when I'm smoking weed. I love going for walks. I love having conversations with my friends. I find that when I smoke weed, I get so many good ideas. I get like downloads. Sometimes I get important insights about my YouTube channel or just about life and about reality. And when I do smoke, I sometimes do have a great time, to be honest. I have very intimate experiences with my loved ones. Sometimes I get new perspectives on the world, and sometimes it just helps me to just relax, let loose, and enjoy my life. I love singing and dancing when I'm high. So the problem for me when I was younger was that I loved smoking weed so much that I couldn't stop. I would, every single day after school, I would, sometimes even during school, I would go out with my friends, get high, go to class, or I would just go home and eat a bunch of food, play video games, and watch porn all day. And this cycle did end up causing me depression, especially because I was interested in self-actualization and I wanted to grow myself and I wanted to quit my bad habits, but I felt that overdoing the weed was kind of just keeping me in a low state. Now, a very big insight that kind of shifted my perspective on smoking weed, because what I would do is I would guilt myself and I would try to quit cold turkey because I wanted to stop. I would quit cold turkey, and then after a few days, a week, I'd be hanging out with my friends. They would all be smoking, so I would end up relapsing, and this caused me a lot of guilt. And it wasn't until I learned about David Hawkins' scale of consciousness and this really cool insight that kind of helped me to be more conscious of how I use weed and not guilt myself for relapsing, and actually just enjoy it more when I do use it, and to just be more conscious of the way I use it. So if you haven't seen David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, I'm going to put it on the screen right now. This is basically the vibration scale. Now guys, keep in mind, it is impossible to map human consciousness on a simple scale. Okay? Human consciousness is extremely complex and complicated. This scale is just a model, and it kind of helps explaining the main point here. So towards the bottom of the scale, there's the lower vibration emotions like shame, guilt, anger, fear, pride, jealousy. These lower vibration emotions don't feel very good. They're very selfish, egotistical, self-contracted, and they cause us a lot of suffering in our lives. So when we get into spirituality, one of the main goals is to raise your vibrational frequency higher towards love, joy, bliss, and eventually towards spiritual enlightenment. And what we want to do is we want to raise our baseline. So having peak experiences like with mushrooms or with DMT might bring you all the way up to like 700-800, and then when you end up coming down, we really want to be raising our baseline. So many people, when we start spirituality, we're around like 190 most of the time, which is a relatively low vibration, and there's a lot of suffering. So smoking weed resonates at around 220, which is acceptance. So if you are kind of stressed out in your life, you're kind of in a low vibration. So for me personally, if I'm playing a lot of video games, I'm stressed out, watching a lot of porn, if I just have like emotions that I'm kind of running away from and not processing, then I am in a low vibration state where I'm get triggered easily, I get angry easily, and I chase pleasure. I chase external pleasure to make me happy. So in this state, I find that smoking weed actually can bring me up. So if I'm around like 170 or 180, and again, guys, I don't really I'm not a master of this scale. This is just a tool that I'm using to explain the general idea. It's not about like the specific number that I'm talking about. It's just more about the general idea. If I'm at a lower vibration and I smoke weed, it brings me up to around 220, which is the vibration of acceptance. So if I'm very stressed in my life and I smoke weed, I find that I kind of chill out. I just enjoy the moment. Just like look at the clouds, listen to the music, and just like be in the moment. Now, the problem that I found is as I started practicing meditation, as I started doing yoga, exercising, reading spiritual books and personal development books, and listening to teachers, my vibration was raising above 220. So many of the videos that I make, for example, will help you to raise your vibration above 220. Then I found as I was developing myself and self-actualizing, my vibration would go higher, like 300, 400, where I'd have willingness, I'd be excited to work on my life, I'd have a vision, I'd be reading books and growing myself. And then when I would go smoke weed, which was a habit of mine, it would bring me down. From 3 to 400 would bring me down to 220. And this would kind of make me feel like, yeah, I'm accepting the moment, but my drive would kind of go away. I would feel lethargic. I wouldn't really have the discipline to go to bed early, or to not play video games all night, or to not go on a porn binge. Because when I'm high, I find that my willpower and my decision making is inhibited. This is what the Buddhists call heedlessness. So when you're drunk, see, alcohol resonates around 190, smoking weed resonates around 220, 225. But still in this state, I feel like my judgment is inhibited, and this causes me to make decisions that I regret later. So the general gist here is that smoking weed can help you to raise your vibration up to 220, but it might give you trouble moving beyond 220. Now, this is actually a very limited perspective. This is one way to look at the world. So on my channel, I talk a lot about looking at reality from different perspectives. So this isn't the only way to think about smoking weed. This is just one way that I found was very helpful for me. So when I'm in a high vibrational state, I'm meditating, I'm living in my heart, I'm doing what I'm passionate about, I'm growing myself, building my business, coaching people, just feeling good about myself. I'm on my purpose, and I just feel awesome. Then I don't really want to smoke weed. And whenever in the past that I did smoke weed, when I was feeling really good, sometimes it would end up bringing me down, and then I would stay up all night and I would guilt myself, and then it would take me a few days to get myself back on track, back up to where I was before. So I just want to reiterate, guys, weed is not bad. This is a very complicated topic. Now I wanted to look at a different perspective. So when I was 16 years old, I started seeing a meditation teacher. I got into Vipassana meditation, which is extremely powerful and will change your life. And I do talk about that in other videos. I asked my meditation teacher, hey, how, is smoking weed bad? Does it affect my mindfulness? And this was his answer, and I'll never forget his answer. He said that drugs are like silver, whereas meditation is like gold. The thing with silver is that, yeah, it's pretty and it's shiny, but eventually it tarnishes, and you have to keep polishing it. But gold never tarnishes. Once you have gold, you got the real thing. You wouldn't trade your gold necklace for a silver one. So what this means is that many people will object to, when I coach clients, a lot of them sometimes are addicted to weed. And I always recommend, hey man, if you can't stop smoking weed, just quit. You need to quit cold turkey. You need to stop. Now, many people have objections but it helps me sleep. It helps me with anxiety. It helps me relax my muscles, and it just makes me happy. So let's go through these objections one by one. If you need to smoke weed in order to sleep, then that's like having a silver necklace. You always need to polish it. It's not sustainable. This is going to compound over time. If you smoke weed one time, that's not a big deal. If you do it once a month, big deal. But if you're smoking weed every single day and it's a core part of your consciousness and you're thinking about it and you're craving it, this is going to compound over time. It's going to compound as tar in your lungs, even if you're doing edibles, guys. So if you have a question, well, is this video just about smoking weed? What if I take edibles? They are different. They do have different effects. I feel like edibles do have a little bit of a higher vibration, but still cannabis in general I'm talking about edibles, I'm talking about everything weed related. I'm talking about drinks, brownies, whatever you're thinking about. So if you need to smoke weed in order to sleep, then this is actually a codependent relationship that you have with this herb. And when you have a codependent relationship, that's always toxic. You are actually using weed as a crutch in order to live as a functional human. Because if you really think about it, you don't need weed to sleep. If you're having sleeping problems, that is something that you need to face by being sober. You can't use medication like melatonin or marijuana or any other kind of sleeping medication, like even like the crazy ones like NyQuil or the, I think there's like other ones like Vicodin. That's not. Anyways, what's the Valium? That's the one that Eminem was addicted to. So these sleeping pills and even weed, when you have a codependent relationship with anything in your life, you're not listening to my meditation teacher's advice. You're relying on an external thing, drugs. You're relying on an external thing to make you good inside. So J. Cole said, meditate, don't medicate. This is very important. So meditation and mindfulness is a natural way for you to feel good in your life, for you to be centered and grounded. It's a natural way to help you relax and accept the present moment. So if weed helps you sleep, probably what you're doing is you're probably using it to repress or suppress some kind of emotional fear that you have, that if you just lie in bed at night and you let your thoughts race, you feel like you can't sleep. And I've been there. I've spent many long nights just wide awake staring at the ceiling until the sun rises, not being able to sleep. But if you can't sleep, you need to go through that sober. You can't use weed for your entire life. And I find that if you do go cold turkey, you'll have withdrawal for a few days or for a week, but eventually you'll learn how to sleep sober, and that will benefit you long term in your life. Same as with anxiety. If you can't deal with your anxiety when you're sober, any pill won't help. So even think about it like this. If you say, smoking weed helps me with my anxiety, but you need to keep smoking it over and over again. You need to keep polishing the silver. Is it really helping you? Because what does it mean to be helped? In my mind, to be helped means that you're cured of your anxiety. You don't need to smoke the medicine anymore. So good medication ends up obsoleting itself so that you don't need to take it anymore. It cured you. But if you have to keep smoking weed, then it's not really helping you. It's just covering up a deeper problem that you need to face. And the best way to face your internal emotions and problems head on, without running away from them, without suppressing them, is just by sitting quietly for 20 minutes a day and just facing reality by just sitting there and not moving, not getting lost in thoughts, just being present and facing the truth. So this brings me to another point. Smoking weed can actually give you a psychedelic experience. So my girlfriend and one of my other close friends, they're a little bit different from me. They actually are able to use cannabis as a psychedelic experience. And the way that they do it is by setting an intention. So by setting a very conscious intention and using the marijuana in a conscious way to self-reflect and to honor life and to be conscious of life. In that way, you can have a great trip. However, be careful that this doesn't turn into a habit where you're always smoking weed, because you'll find very quickly that if you smoke weed every single day for a week, you're going to get sick of it really quick and it's going to start to cause you suffering. Also, now let's get into a few more. Actually, I wanted to mention something about meditation and mindfulness. I find personally in my experience that if I smoke weed, it is a lot more difficult for me to meditate. It's a lot more difficult for me to be awake and clear and mindful. And remember, awakening and being clear and awake in the moment, having sharp, clear, discriminating awareness, that is what actually frees you from suffering permanently. That's what liberates you. Because that sharp awareness is almost like a knife. It allows you to cut through experience, to see into the illusory nature of experience. So even when you hear a sound and you're doing Vipassana meditation, when you get good at the practice, you hear a sound, but you realize you might hear a sound, it's a cricket chirping, or you hear the cricket. And normally, just in regular, everyday sleeping consciousness, when you're just living in your normal, everyday state, you hear, oh, that's a cricket. And you don't really cut into it. But when you're practicing Vipassana and you develop very high levels of concentration, you realize this cricket sound isn't really a cricket sound. It is impossible to say what it is in words, but I'll try my best. It's like a million micro vibrations. Almost like you're breaking down the movie into the frames per second. When you get really good at Vipassana meditation, you can see life almost at the frames per second level. You can see it by the frame by frame level. And these frames can get infinitely small. Reality, this one very advanced practitioner, I'm not at this level yet, but this one enlightened practitioner said that reality, you can realize up to 16 to 20 microseconds, like micro moments in every second. So it's like you're breaking down reality to the frames per second level. And the point of this is that you actually see through the illusion of life. Life is not a three-dimensional physical object with cars and people, but it's actually an illusion that is perpetuated by conditioning, by conditioned and habitual ways of thinking and interacting with the world. So Vipassana, the word Vipassana means clear seeing or direct seeing. So what this does is that allows you to see reality clearly, and then you can cut through experience. This allows you to stay centered in all experience, to stay neutral through pain, through suffering. This causes your consciousness to stop clinging, to stop chasing after experiences. When you stop chasing after highs and you realize that you just need, the high isn't satisfying. That's the reason why we keep smoking weed over and over and over and over and over again. Because yeah, sure, it feels good, but there's a quality of dissatisfactoriness. It doesn't permanently satisfy you. That's why after you get high, you might want to go eat some food, or you might want to go play some video games, or fill up your empty hole. So when I smoke weed, it actually kind of inhibits my mental clarity. And I find that there's actually more of a tendency for the mind to cling. The clarity is almost lowered, and the clinging tendency is increased. Now, the Buddha said that all suffering in your life is produced by clinging to transient phenomena. Transient phenomena means that whenever you're clinging to experience, you're not realizing that all experience is like a ghost. Experience is like smoke. It's not real. It's not really there. It's like a dream. You can't grab onto it. It's like a mirage in the desert. Have you ever actually investigated experience closely? You might be saying, okay, Adam, he's talking about meditation stuff, whatever. But no, for real, have you actually investigated an experience? If you do, and you investigate very, very closely, what is a sound? What is a cricket chirping? You get really, really to the micro detail level of the experience, you'll see through the illusory nature of reality. And this liberates you from clinging, because you realize nothing can satisfy you, so you stay eternally centered, eternally peaceful and present. And this raises your vibration through the roof. This is love, bliss, enlightenment. This is what you really want. This is the gold that my teacher was talking about. So, yeah, smoking weed, think about it like this as well. Like, when I'm making a YouTube video, I don't want to show up and be fried on camera. I don't feel like I'm at my best self. I don't feel the most conscious and the most awake and clear that I could possibly be. Now, keep in mind, if you're a really good meditator and you get high, what I've actually done in my life is if I get really high, I can cut through the high feeling and I can actually recenter myself and be grounded and awake and clear. Because awakening is true in every moment. So regardless of which moment you're in, you can always recenter yourself, stop clinging, and just pay attention to, you can ask the question, who am I? Pay attention to the clear awareness. That's like the empty screen that's behind all sensations and feelings. So even if you're high, you can still cut through and awaken. But I find it's harder. Now, now you might be tempted to say, well, Adam, okay, I know what you mean. Intuitively, I know what you're saying and I agree with you, but I still find it difficult to stop smoking. Should I feel bad for smoking? So now I'm going to give you some tips for if you do want to reduce your weed smoking because you want to go after the gold necklace instead of the silver one, then I'll give you some tips for cutting down on weed smoking and in a way that you can still enjoy it every once in a while. So for me personally, like I said, last time I smoked weed was like 4 days ago. Now granted, I wasn't really in a super high vibration state. I was playing a lot of video games and watching porn, and it was just, I find my life goes like up and down kind of in waves. And as I've developed myself more, I kind of stay neutral to this. And I don't guilt myself. I don't attach to it. I just kind of let it flow. And this works extremely well for me. But I did smoke some weed with my girlfriend. And honestly, I had a great time. We just went for a walk, smoked some weed, relaxed, grabbed a sandwich at the store, and listened to some music and just chilled out. However, that night, a few days ago actually, that night, I was really high, I was at home, I was kind of like in my old patterns, right? Where I was kind of just looking for food in my cupboard, or just like chasing after experience. It was like 12 o'clock at night. I kind of realized like, hey, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be just like high all the time and foggy. So I actually kind of overrode the high feeling and I just cut through experience, and I actually got into a cold shower and I kind of just rebirthed myself. And that actually allowed me to kind of cut through that high experience. So if you do want to cut down on your weed smoking, here are my tips. I recommend when you do smoke weed, actually enjoy it. Don't guilt yourself, just let yourself do it. And trust that even if you allow yourself to do it and afterwards you feel bad about it or you feel like it was the wrong decision, you'll just learn a lesson for next time. So just let yourself do the thing and don't judge it. I talk about this technique a lot in my video, how to quit any addiction by loving it to death. Definitely check that video out where I talk about this strategy of allowing yourself to do the addicting thing, not forcing yourself to quit or not guilting yourself. Just let yourself do what feels natural. But keep in mind what you might want to do if, like, oh, Adam's giving me permission to just run loose and do whatever the fuck I want. So you might say, okay, screw it. I'm going to roll a giant blunt and smoke it to my face. And I might do that 5 times in a row. Okay, good. You should do that because you'll probably get to the point after you smoke 5 blunts and you can't even move where you realize, oh my God, I should probably stop doing this. And you actually realize it directly. I should stop doing this. I don't like doing this. Now, at that point, the strategy's working. You're allowing yourself to do the thing. You're gaining direct awareness of how the thing isn't actually working. It's not actually contributing to your mental clarity and your wakefulness, which is what happiness is. Happiness is wakefulness, presence. This is peace. When you realize that the weed's not contributing to that, then you can just quit. Or you can just go cold turkey, which is my next tip. Go cold turkey. Stop it. Don't be a victim to your thoughts. We'll say, oh, Adam, I can't quit. It's hard to quit. No, it's not hard to quit. Stop buying weed. All the weed you have now, your bong, your edibles, whatever you have, throw it out. Stop buying it. It's actually not hard to quit. And what will help you with this is hang out less with your friends, because the odds are if you smoke weed all day, you probably have friends who like to smoke weed all day. And if you find that your friends are not trying to develop themselves personally, they're not even trying to quit, they're just kind of basking in their unconsciousness, then you might want to hang out less with them. Because if you want to hang out with them, you're gonna want to smoke with them. So hang out less with them if you do want to quit. There's nothing wrong with spending some time alone. That's what I've done. I've moved to a different city in my area, and the only person I hang out with mostly is my girlfriend. And she actually does smoke weed, but for some reason I don't feel tempted to smoke when she smokes. But when I'm with my friends and they're smoking, I'm gonna want to smoke with them. Now again, guys, keep in mind there's nothing wrong with smoking weed. In fact, sometimes when I hang out with my friends, I'm the one to bring the weed and roll it up and smoke a joint. But I don't do this all the time. The last time I did that was like a month ago. This is something that I do infrequently. And now I don't feel an urge to do this. I don't feel a craving to do this. It's not like I'm going out with my friends every single night and getting high. This is something I do infrequently, on occasion, when the time calls for it, right? Everything in its season, like it says in the book Ecclesiastes in the Bible. Everything in its season. So don't attach to life. Let things flow naturally. If you want to smoke a lot, go ahead. But then you might notice, oh shit, it's time to quit, and then quit. And the way that helps with this is by raising your vibration naturally. So what I recommend is checking out my video, 11 ways to raise your vibration instantly. In that video, I go over natural ways for you to raise your vibration. I talk about meditation, I talk about spending time in nature, and many other ways that I use personally to raise my vibration without weed. Because if you can learn how to raise your vibration without weed, then you're actually not going to want to smoke. You're not going to have the craving anymore, because the craving for weed comes from you not feeling good. You're not feeling good in your heart. So you need something else to make you feel good. So this video that I just recommended helps you feel good without smoking weed. Check it out now, and I'll see you in the next one. Learning how to manage your vibrational frequency is the most important thing that you can learn how to do in your life.